Hello, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for being here. It's great to be here. I'm really excited today to be introducing a friend, a business colleague, and somebody who's interviewed me many, many times, Steve Hyland. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Steve in a minute, but just before I do, just to let you know, we're streaming live on LinkedIn. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube, and we're on my podcasts. So we're all over Apple and all over iTunes and all over Amazon and everywhere. And how cool is that, guys? You know, that we can do that. You know, when I started off doing this being helping small businesses, it was a matter of sticking letters in envelopes and stamps on them and spending all afternoon, and now we can get messages out to thousands of people. How wonderful is technology? And that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about using video. And that's something that Steve's an expert in. He runs a company called Business Connections Live. Welcome to the conversation, Steve. And thanks for being here. Do you want to tell everybody a little bit about what you do?
Well, lovely to be here. I mean, what I try to do is I try to help people tell their story. And it's interesting what you were saying about the way that the technology has moved forward and what it allows us to do today, because I think that really is very, very true. The trouble that we've got, I think, today within social media and people using video online is it's a bit like if I was to go along and I gave you a great big box of spanners. It doesn't make you a mechanic. And the issue is, if I give you all the technology, if I give you the cameras, if I give you the microphones, it doesn't make you a broadcaster. It doesn't even make you a communicator. It just means that you're somebody that owns all the technology that could allow you to do that. And over the years, I've seen so many different people have the technology, but then fail miserably when it comes to the way that they connect, the way they storytell about their business. And really, that's where we are today. I think the technology now is becoming nearly secondary to what we can achieve. We all know we can do it. We've all got our smartphones, 4K video. Frame it right with a couple of apps that are on there and you've got a fantastic shot. But it's down to your storytelling these days. And I think that's the big issue that people have.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I know we were chatting about this yesterday, preparing for today. And I said, you know, let's start off. I'll ask you a question about, you know, why should people use video? And your response to that was really interesting. You said, look, everybody knows they should use video now, really. There's no need to convince people of that, you know, that are in business. They got to use video. And if you're not doing, by the way, you need to start doing. But as you said, it's more about, you know, not about the technology. How do you do that? Whether it's on your phone or, you know, on a computer, or, you know, you're going to a studio and getting it done professionally. It's about the story behind that. So tell me a little bit more about your thoughts around that, please.
Well, I think it was very interesting what you just said. We were on the phone yesterday and we were preparing for this. And I think a lot of people don't prepare for what they're going to say. They don't think through what they're going to say at all. It all came to a head, actually. There's a number of things that have come to a head over the last couple of weeks for me and kind of really resonated with me. I've been filming a few events for different people and also doing Teams, of course, is very big now. But even getting a message across to your own workforce, sometimes that's going to be a pit full of disasters as well if you don't get it right. And also it's this being trustworthy when you're on camera as well. I mean, we look at the likes of YouTube. It's very easy to get your videos out there. And I do believe firmly that regardless of how you do it, get someone to ask you 5 questions about your business and then put that onto your website. Try to be authentic, try to be you. You hear this all the time. Try to be you, you know, try to explain a little bit about your organization, but don't fall into the trap of telling linear stories. Long-winded linear stories just don't work anymore. We have a short attention span. One of the organizations I work for, they did some analytics on their videos that were going out. And after 3 minutes, the audience would drop off. And so any message that was contained in the last 3 minutes of their video, of their little production, was being lost to the audience. Now, if you step back for a moment and think about it, what were they doing for the first 3 minutes? Because in those first 3 minutes, they should have been getting the key points, the key information over. And I liken that to the Goldilocks scenario. Now, Strange enough, there is an advert on the television at the moment, which is around the Goldilocks story. And they've done exactly this. Goldilocks slept in Baby Bear's bed and ate his porridge and then got caught. That's the story. But most people, if they were telling it, would be, once upon a time, a little girl decided that she was going to go walking in the woods and her name was Goldilocks. Now, that's going to rattle on for 2 or 3 minutes before we get to the key point.
We get to the exciting
bit. Bed and ate the porridge.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking about that for your business, now, I was at a networking event a couple of weeks back, and at the end of I was asked to do a little talk about how to present their story.
Yeah.
And what I realized was I barely knew anything about the companies from their 1-minute presentations. So if somebody stands up and goes, I'll use your name for an example here. Hello, I'm Steve Mills. I'm an accountant. I do year-end accounts. I do self-assessment. I do payroll. Well, of course you do. You're an accountant.
Yeah.
Of course that's what you're going to do. What you need to do is stand up and go, I'm Steve Mills. Last month, I saved the company £11,000. I implemented 3 simple procedures, and I could do that for your company and save your company money and time. Now, we're an accountants company. Get in touch. So you're turning your story on its head, and you're starting at the end, and you're working towards the beginning. And it's not new. We're not reinventing the wheel here.
No.
If you look at any newspaper, you've got a headline, which is the story. You've got the first paragraph that tells you the top line about the story, and then you've got the rest of the copy that explains the full story. So start thinking about that when you're producing your video. So that's one area that I think people will make the videos that they are producing a lot more effective. So if we go back to what I was saying about getting someone to ask you 5 questions about your business, make them the most important life-changing differences that your business has over your competitors, and get that out there first. You've got all the time in the world to be explaining who you are and where you're from, but nobody really cares until you tell them why you're so different, what your unique selling point is.
Yeah, great advice. I love the example with the Goldilocks, and you know, it's just such a powerful thing. And your example about what the accountant should say, you know, the second one was like so much more interesting than, hi, I'm an accountant and this is what I do accounts and year-end tax. It's like, it's just almost crackers, because everybody knows what an accountant does.
Yes.
You don't need to tell me that. What you need to tell me is it's like, why me, isn't it, really? You know,
it's the mindset that you're looking from the inside. You're looking from inside your business out, and you should be looking from the outside of your business in to make all the difference. And I think that's really important. And the issue that you come across, I think, when you go out to get video produced, maybe professionally, is a lot of the people, a lot of the businesses that you come across, they're either very technically orientated, they're technical in what they do. They're great cameramen. They'll get fantastic shots. It will look absolutely brilliant because that's what they do. Or they are journalistic, have a journalistic background where they know how to ask a question. And what many of these organizations don't have are the skills of how to present your answers. And I think that's what we do. We when we do our media training, we're talking about how to present your answer. I mean, everybody should be going out and thinking, what's the one question that I don't want to be asked? Find that question and then devise your answer. Because if you don't do that, then you are hopelessly unprepared. I mean, there's a little thing that we say to all our clients, and if you are putting your video together at the moment and you're thinking to yourself, I want to put video onto my website or whatever you want to do, maybe you can follow this kind of process at the moment. We divide it there are 6 individual parts to this. Content. So just go out there, give your best content away. Nobody's going to replicate it. There are no secrets out there. You can find everything on the internet. So whatever content you're going to give it away. Give the very best of it away, because the chances are that if you do that, people can't be bothered to actually do anything with that content, and they'll come to you. Structure it properly. Structure the way you do your video properly. As I said, maybe start at the end and work your way towards the beginning. Put a proposition in there. Tell them what you can do for them. This goes back to my shopping telly days. It was all about, this aspirational sell. What's the proposition? How can you help them? Would you like to have more time in your business? Would you like to save yourself £11,000 a month? Would you like to increase your... This is all the stuff you do, of course, Steve, as well.
Yeah.
Then come up with that clear resolution so they know what they're going to get. How are you going to fix it for them? What's the big fix that you've devised? And then a very, very clear call to action. What do you want the people who are watching your video to do? If you're quite happy with them just watching the video to get to know you, that's fine. But if you want them to actually do something, particularly as we're in business, ask them to do something. Maybe you can put a survey on your website. Maybe you can sort of say, you often say, Steve, let's make a meeting, an appointment. Let's do that. So I think that's really good. A really clear call to action is really important. And then the last part of this puzzle, the number 6, is about your delivery. A few months back, I was recording something for somebody, and these were very, very senior management within an organization.
Okay.
And what they didn't do was they didn't look down the lens.
Right.
And you've got to engage with your audience. It's interesting. The BBC did some research a long while back, and newscasters who blinked too often, subliminally, the audience felt were untrustworthy.
Wow.
Just blinking too much. Now, imagine if you're actually creating something, or you're producing something, or you're talking to your team online. Maybe you're using Teams, and you're doing this all the time. It's a bit shifty. And what happens is that even though people understand you may be experiencing technical issues or whatever,
things going on behind
subliminally, subliminally, they're going to be going, I don't trust this person, or why should I listen, because they're not talking to me. And I think they're just a few of the things that you need to remember when you're producing your videos. And
I know you've told me off several times about this, because what I do is that, like right now, I'm looking at you, right? I see you on the screen. I'm looking at you. I'm not looking at my camera, and that's a small difference, that and that, isn't it?
It is, and it can make a huge difference, but it's a subliminal thing. Your audience may not realize it, but they may well be turning off. And of course, the thing is, if you go into anybody's living room, if they turn the TV on, our eyes are naturally drawn to the screen. My dad was terrible for that. I'd go around to his house, he'd turn the telly on, and then everybody was watching the television. What we do. But when you're in front of a TV camera, you've got to ignore all that peripheral stuff that's in your vision and look straight down the lens.
Straight down the lens. Yeah. I'll get there eventually, Steve.
I'm sure you will.
I think also a really important point that you made, just to re-emphasize it, is that, it's great to make that pitch, this is how I can help you, but there's very little doing it after 15-20 minutes. It's important to make sure that it's up front. It's like having a newspaper advert and having the headline at the bottom. It doesn't always work. It's the old saying, the headline is the advert for the advert. Well, the headline is the advert for the video. And that's really important, I believe.
Well, I actually think that YouTube and platforms like that are part of the problem, because what you see, everybody copies everybody else on YouTube. So what's the first thing that people say on YouTube? They'll give you the proposition. They do that quite often at the very beginning. They'll run a little sting. And then what they'll say is, if you subscribe or ring the bell.
Yes.
So, and they will play with that for maybe a little bit too long at the beginning of the video, when in fact, what the viewer is looking for is the content, the information that is in the video. And it's just because it's become the norm on YouTube. I skip through that. Through that. I'm not interested. If the information's not there, then I will skip through it. And of course, YouTube is becoming even worse now, because I think they're going to make it compulsory. You can't have ad blockers. You're going to have to watch the ads. Maybe Vimeo is looking at an opportunity here that they'll be hosting loads of corporate video very shortly. There was one other thing I wanted to say when it comes to telling a story. And this is something that I've discovered recently. don't believe because you've said it that people will hear it. Be aware of that, because people will interpret what you say the way they want to interpret it, and they will take from what you say what they want to hear. And that's why repetition is so important, I think, as well, when you're doing any pitch about your business, about what you're doing, about the organization. By just saying it the once is just not enough, because people will not hear what you are saying. So be aware. And it's interesting, if we go back to the infomercial days, an infomercial would maybe last 15 minutes, maybe half an hour. But if you watch the structure of the infomercial, it was repeating itself maybe every 2 to 3 minutes. So you get 2 minutes, and then it would say the same thing again, but slightly differently.
In a different way,
In a different way. And it's where the "but wait, there's more" comes from. But it's all of that, you know, just remembering that what you say isn't exactly what you think the audience heard. So just be very aware of that. And when you're doing anything that has got critical information in it, make certain that you give it maybe in 2 or 3 different ways, so that it resonates with your audience and that they understand what you are saying, because they will mishear you. Great tip.
Thank you. So we're coming towards the end of our time. We always very respectful of people's time here today. So thank you, Steve, for that. If people want to find out more about you and how you can help them, what do they do, Steve?
Well, it's dead easy. There's a number of ways. If you just type in Steve Hyland, there's a couple of us out there. I think one's in America, and there's me. But if you type Steve Hyland into Google, I will come up. Go to Business Connections Live. That's where I live, or to stevehyland.co.uk. You can find information there about the different things I do. And we never really said at the beginning. So my background is radio and television. Worked in radio for a number of years, still doing radio now, and also worked in direct response TV, which is shopping telly. And the difference there between normal businesses and shopping television, you know how successful your video has been instantly. You know how successful you are. You know how much money you have made. And I can tell you, when you're under that kind of pressure, then you understand that's why you learn the techniques to make it more effective. And just to show, in the UK, QVC is still having £1 million days. They're still bringing in, tons of cash. So it does work, but you've got to get the message right, and you've got to get that structure right. And whatever you do, if you do find the little hut that Baby Bear ate the porridge in, make certain you don't get caught.
Absolutely. So thank you, Steve. I really appreciate it. It's been fantastic. It's always interesting to talk to you. I know you're a font of knowledge, and you have helped me so much, not only with being on your show's been fantastic, but also, just some of the little tips that you've given me to help me to try to improve things. So I hope for everybody here that you're going to do the same. Take this, you've spent a little bit of time with us today. I believe we've come up with, or Steve's come up with, lots of great ideas. So take them on board, use them, and develop your videos even more effective than they are right now. Other than that, just wish to say thank you for being here. I look forward to seeing you again. Remember, I'm doing this every single day on LinkedIn. So join me tomorrow, and I look forward to speaking to you then. Thanks very much for listening.